Hello, students. It's Mr. Thayer, and welcome to class. Today's October 10th, and today's the big race. So you've done the previous heats and figured out who won those mini tricycle races. Today's the finals. So you're all going to kind of be racing together, but also working together to solve a puzzle to come up with equations for each racer and graph them. This is just a quick reminder right now. If you plan to take the retake over here, you need to make sure that you staple your corrections to your retake form with your name on it and indicate the date and time when you plan to take the retake. Is it going to be Tuesday during X block or Thursday during X block or Tuesday after school or Thursday after school? You need to let me know when that is, okay? And today's the last day to turn it in. Also, take a moment to jot down tonight's homework number 19. You can pause this video if necessary and then continue after students have had a chance to take out their notebooks and title their homework at the top of their page. After that, go to another blank page in your notebook and title today's lesson 223, How Can I Use Y equals MX plus B? Well, we're going to use it today in the big race. Pause if necessary and then press play. The materials required today, which the resource managers at each team can gather. The graph paper handout is on the teacher desk. You'll need one per person of that. The racer clue sheet, you'll need just one per team of that, also at the teacher desk. Over at the student resource station, you will need at least 6 different colored pencils because there's 6 different racers, at least 2 rulers per table, your graphing calculator, and of course, you'll need your math textbook. So resource managers, you've got your hands full. You can delegate some duties to another class member to help you out maybe. And when you gather your books, you'll be opening to page 83 and 84 for today's lesson. So again, if you need a pause, go gather your supplies and then press play and we'll continue on. Okay, we are at page 83 right now. So you should have your notebooks open on your desk and your textbook. And we're going to do a quick preview of this single exercise today, and then we'll start it together. This is the big race finals. Today's the final event. Your teacher will give you a card, which will describe how you travel in the race. You and your team will compete against the Heat 1 and Heat 2 winners, Leslie and Elizabeth, at today's rally in the gym. So your task is to draw the graph of all 6 of these racers and their progress over the time. You're going to come up with your equations first, and then you'll figure out who wins the race. Now, since it's the big race, it's a 25-meter race instead of a 20-meter race. And we'll mark that on the graph in a moment. Here are the rules. Number 1, work together as a team. No team member has enough information to draw all the graphs. All right, so it's very important you work together and leave no one behind. You have a clue, rule number 2. It is assigned to you. You will have a clue sheet. It'll say rider A, rider B, rider C, rider D, and also a clue for Leslie and Elizabeth. You are assigned the clue based off of your role on your team. Write down your clue in your notebook right now so that you can get working on the equation for your clue when we're done with this video. After that, turn your clue sheet over or give it back to the teacher because you'll no longer need it. And rule 3, assume that these racers are going to go the same speed throughout the whole race, so their graph will be a straight line. Again, make sure you know what your role is and what your clue is. We'll come back to this. Okay. Take out your graphing notebook and let's look at the clues for Leslie and Elizabeth. So we'll start with Leslie right here. What we know before we even get started is that the X variable, or the independent variable, represents time measured in seconds. And the dependent variable represents distance measured in meters. And that all the equations we're using today are going to be slope-intercept form. That's the goal. So as we gather information from Leslie and Elizabeth and your own clues, focus on finding how you can get the slope and how you can get that y-intercept. So you can get the equation and make the graph. So starting with Leslie. Leslie rides 2 meters per second. Stop right there. That's a rate. That is Leslie's slope. So they give us the slope right off of the bat, 2 meters per 1 second, a unit rate. We also have one more clue. She starts 2 seconds after the start of the race. So let's think about that for a second. 2 seconds into the race, so when X is 2, she's gone nowhere because she hasn't started yet. So she's at 0 meters. So that's your second clue. A snapshot in time. That's not the y-intercept. That's in fact the x-intercept. And we'll graph that point first in a moment. But we got to come up with our equation. So let's write down the clues that we have. We have slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. We've got the slope. We do not have the y-intercept. But you know what we do have? We've got a couple x and y values over here. So we're going to plug them in for y and for x. And we're going to solve for the letter b. Okay, let's make this pretty simple. 0 equals 2 times 2, which is 4, plus b. To solve for b, we have to take away 4. So b is going to be negative 4. So now we've got all the information we need for Leslie's equation. Y equals 2 over 1x minus 4. Okay, but remember, in our race, we're not going to be going into the negatives. So the first point we'll plot will be where she starts 2 seconds into the race. And then we'll use the y-intercept to plot more points. Let's go talk about Elizabeth. Here's what we know about Elizabeth. We have a couple snapshots in time of her race. First snapshot tells us that at 11 meters into the race, she's at 4 seconds into the race. So 4 seconds, 11 meters. That's a coordinate. The other clue is at 12 seconds, she's 13 meters into the race. Another coordinate. 12 seconds, 13 meters. She's going very slow, apparently, because she's got some sort of flat tire going on. Well, they gave us 2 points. That's enough information to use this slope equation and find the slope of her equation. So remember how we do this? We subtract the y values from each other. So we'll do 13 minus 11 over, we'll subtract the x values from each other. So we'll go 12 minus 4. This will give us our slope of 2 over 8, which reduces to just 1/4. We got our slope. So in our equation, we got the slope of 1/4. We don't know her y-intercept. So we'll do the same process as we did up here, where we took a point and plugged it in. Let's take this top point here and plug it in place of x and y. So we'll take 4 and 11 and insert them in right here. So 11, and that 4 will sneak right there. Okay, so 1/4 times 4, that's just 1. And when we solve for b by getting rid of that 1 next to it, we've got b equals 10. Now we have all the information we need for Elizabeth's equation. It's the slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of 10. So zooming out, we use the 2 clues. As a class, we work through them. And now as a class, we have the first 2 equations. There they are. Take out your graphing paper now. And let's title the x and y axis before we get started. The x-axis is time, the units are seconds. The y-axis is distance, and the units are meters. And the overarching title, you can call it the big race if you like, or the big race finals. And then before we forget, the big race is 25 meters long. So if you want to draw a horizontal line with your ruler at 25, signifying the finish line, maybe put a highlighter across it so it stands out to you. It's not another rider. That's the finish line. All right, let's get to plotting Leslie's equation. Now, this graph does not go into the negative, so I can't plot this y-intercept of -4 like we normally do. There is no negative over here. So instead, we'll start with the other clue. Her x-intercept is at 2. Remember, 2 seconds into the race, she's gone nowhere. And then her slope is 2 over 1. So I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to rise up 2 to the right 1, and repeat this several times until she's crossed that finish line. Keep going up 2 to the right 1, and then connect your dots with a ruler. So it looks like we've gathered an approximate finish for our friend Leslie. And we'll let you figure that out with your team. Next, Elizabeth. All right, Elizabeth has a y-intercept of +10. That does fit on our graph right here. 10-meter head start for her because she's going so slow, only 1 meter every 4 seconds. So that's a rise of 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like they're tied right there. Up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat this pattern over and over and over until she either crosses the finish line or you run out of space. Looks like we run out of space on our graph to figure out when she crosses. So you're going to need to algebraically figure that one out. Remember, the finish line's 25 meters away. So if you were to plug in 25 in for the y variable and solve for x, you would figure out when Elizabeth finishes the race. So if you take this equation later on in this problem and solve for that x right there, you're going to figure out when she crosses that finish line. Okay, you and your team. One more time, facilitators. It's your job to take the clue for rider A. Resource manager, your job is rider B's clue. Come up with the equation. Recorder reporter, you're rider C. And task manager, you are rider D. Now keep in mind, if you are absolutely stumped with your clue and require assistance from your team, that's fine. Communicate your clue to your team with your words and then figure it out together what the equation is. Otherwise, if you get the equation, great. You all can share your equations with each other and write them down so that you can create your awesome graphs over here and see who's going to win the big race finals. When you finish your graph, if class is over, okay, that's fine. Turn your graph into the substitute to hold on. If you have plenty of time after finishing the graph, proceed on to page 84 and answer questions about the race in problem 269 and 270 in your notebooks. Be sure with 10 minutes left in class that you are putting back your borrowed supplies and leaving the classroom in an orderly fashion. I'm talking to you, fourth hour in particular. Make sure you're leaving the class in a nice, orderly fashion. All right, that's going to do it today for your clues to get you started on the big race. As a recap, it's October 10th. You're doing the big race today. Exercise 268 in your book on page 83. You do have a homework assignment tonight, M&Ms, and some exercises. And you got that retake test this week if you're taking advantage of it. Turn that into me. Good luck, everyone. And I'll see you Tuesday.